a boxing betting expert.
I know, David.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
He really gets into the nitty-gritty of this whole thing.
Wes, thanks very much for joining me. I'm very excited about this. So, good friend of ours, we've got a mutual friend, put us in touch. I would say your channel is the most exciting channel I've seen for years. That's not just flattery; it's absolutely true.
Thank you.
I'm excited to talk to you to hear some insights from Gunman Boxing himself. So, straight into it. What's the first boxing memory you have? The first fight you remember?
Oh, going back some years. Listen, I consider myself a boxing purist. I've been watching boxing since I was 5 years old. I used to hide behind the couch and watch my dad watching boxing. And my first memories was actually like Chris Eubank Sr., that era, Azuma Nelson, Lloyd Honeyghan, that era of fighter. I mean, to remember my actual first fight, I can't actually think what my first. I watched so many fights, I can't actually vividly remember my first one. But I think it may have been like Azuma Nelson or someone like that.
Right.
But yeah, I love my boxing. I've been watching boxing since I was 5 years old. I've boxed myself, and I now run a boxing channel talking about boxing all day, every day.
Absolutely. So was your father a boxer, or was he just a fan?
No, he was just a fan. He doesn't like it so much now, but yeah, he was a big fan at the time. But that era was golden, wasn't it, with Eubank Senior and Ben and Watson and co.
Early 90s. I think it's people of that era that we were spoiled at the time, and like your father may dip out of love with the sport, but we'll always come back to it because those foundations, those formative years for that era can't be beaten. UK-wide, UK and globally, amazing.
Yeah.
So you have boxed then?
Yeah, I was 9-2. I boxed unlicensed level. So pretty good standard. Got into it. At first, I had a couple of charity fights when a friend of mine passed away just to raise some money for charity. And I just got really into it. I found like when I was training and doing camps, it was the best I ever felt. I was off the booze. I was eating clean. And I was like training like a machine. And I was actually enjoyed walking around feeling brilliant. Yeah. And when the camp would finish and the fight would finish, I'd like, I need to do this again and just get the bug.
Yeah. And is that what age did you start?
I started 35. I'm 44 now.
Wow.
45 now. Sorry, I'm 45 now. But yeah, I started like late, really late. Got into it late.
So you got 11 fights in after the age of 35.
Yeah, two or three a year.
Amazing. I mean, that's incredible. So, were you an athlete beforehand? It's quite unusual to pick it up at that age.
Yeah, I was a footballer before, but I was pretty good at all sports. A really good runner. I used to run for Surrey and run for London. So I was good at athletics. I was good at football. But yeah, when one of my friends passed away, his name's Michael Grace. He passed away. His heart stopped in the night, and I was looking for something to raise some money for his cause. And I went for a business meeting, and someone said, "Look, why don't you try white collar boxing?" And I was like, "Okay, much better than doing 10Ks, running a 10K or a marathon, which I hate doing that sort of thing."
Yeah.
And I tried it, and I never looked back. And I actually got quite good at one point. I was pretty good, and had quite a nice little career. Lost my first fight, and then went on a 9-fight kill streak.
Oh wow!
And then lost my last fight and quit.
Right. Bernard Hopkins style. So
that's it.
Did you miss it? I mean, you ever tempted to get back in?
Yeah, always. You always are, especially when I'm watching boxing. I think I could beat him. But like I said, no one can believe I'm like 45.
Yeah, right.
Like, I'm in really good shape. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Boxing did that for me. I used to just party and drink and smoke and have fun. And then when I got into boxing, I took it seriously. I stopped boozing and try. I wanted to win, so it changed my life around massively, and it's been a huge part of my life.
And it sounds like that's like a fundamental foundation shift. Then that's fighting or not, you're still doing the training. I see you on.
I still train. I train other people as well. I train kids. I train adults. I pass on my skills and my knowledge. I was a pretty decent fighter in my time. But just as you get a bit older, it takes, the punch resistance is the first to go.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
and once I started not taking the shots as well, I
Yeah,
thought okay, it's time to quit now, and I decided to start a boxing channel.
yeah, brilliant. Well, it's also that sort of thing as you get older, you just get a little bit more civilized, don't you? And I guess it's just perhaps doesn't become so natural in your 40s as it does 10 years earlier.
Mm. Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely.
how do you find, you know, there's a big thing from ex-fighters online who think that you have, so I've sparred one round in my life. It's not for me. Like, but I would like to think I'm a reasonable judge of boxing, and I've got sort of evidence to back that up. But having never boxed myself, what's your answer to the question that if you haven't boxed, you can't be a good assessor of boxers?
No, I mean, yeah, that's not correct. I mean, like you can have a good eye for it without doing it. You see in football, a lot of the best football managers weren't the best players, or some of them didn't even play themselves.
Yeah.
You know, like the likes of Jose Mourinho, Klopp. You know, like not great players themselves or didn't play.
Yeah.
You know, a coach doesn't need to be the best fighter, and you actually often see a lot of fighters not going into coaching. All our sort of legends that we know, like Mike Tyson, not coaching people, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis. You know, they don't go on and be great coaches or even analysts. You know what I mean? You're not seeing them on. And you look at some of the great analysts, you know, like Adam Smith, like former head of Sky. I really like him. Really good commentator. I base a lot of my style in the way I speak and enhance like shows and fights. Someone like him, he's never boxed at all, but he's so knowledgeable and someone who I aspire to look up to. You know, he's a really good guy, and he doesn't know, he hasn't fought. So yeah, you just need to have a good eye for it. You don't have to have fought. It does help though, and I do find doing my channel, I interview fighters of all levels. You know, a guy having his first fight right up to Bernard Hopkins and you know Dimitri Bivol. I interview, and it does help. I must say, it does help when I know what a camp's like. I know the thoughts that go through your head when you have a bad sparring session. I know what it feels like to get punched in the face. I know what it feels like to get knocked down. You know, so it does help for sure. Yeah.
And so from seeing you training a little bit on Insta, you were kind of pretty slick, switch hitter, good hand speed. Is that correct assessment of you? And what did you base that on? Any fighters that you grew up watching?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to love the Eubanks. When I was growing up, Eubanks Senior was one of my favourites. I know controversial. Everyone loved Nigel Benn. I used to love Lennox Lewis and Prince Nazim Hamed. So I kind of put a little bit into this. You know, you take a little bit from the guys you like. Always do. But I was lucky. I was blessed with good footwork. Like I picked up a skip rope and I could already skip really good. Like some guys I train and stuff, they can't do 5 skips in a row, and it takes me months to get them skipping and get them. I was always had really good feet. So I was a footwork fighter. I was always in and out, moving my feet. So I didn't get hit much in my fights at all. I didn't really get hit that much. Only towards the end, you know, like I said, my last fight, which I lost, so I got knocked down. But yeah, I didn't get knocked down throughout my whole career. Didn't take too much punishment. I was always in and out. I had a nice style. I think I'd describe myself as, you know, I could do a bit of everything. I could come forward and seek and destroy, but I could also back well off the back foot. But mainly I was more defense-minded rather than, I didn't have that spite. You know, I didn't really enjoy, the great fighters enjoy hurting people.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? They enjoy badding you up. I wasn't that.
And what weight division were you?
I was light heavyweight.
Okay, right.
And then I moved out as I got more serious. I moved to semi-pro. So once the head guards came off, and the lighter gloves came on, I moved down to super middle, which was 76 kg.
Yeah, right. Great division. And so, do you have a favorite division to watch now?
It's always the super middleweight. You know, I always like the middleweights because that's a natural weight of a man, and that's where you get the most punch output. And that's also where you get the most volume, and you know, like that's when you're really athletically at your peak is middleweight. I think that's where you get the speed, the power, the punch volume. And when I keep on saying punch volume and punch output, because in the bigger weights you can see fights where there's hardly any punches being thrown.
Yeah.
So yeah, middleweight's always been the weight division for me, and there's always been some dons in that division.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's still, I think it's very rarely a bad era in the middleweight superweight division. And so who's been your sort of favourite boxer to watch of all time since you can remember following the sport?
Yeah, as I said, Eubank Senior,
okay,
Prince Naseem, and Mike Tyson,
yeah,
and Lennox. I'd say were my four sort of biggies. But then I used to also love Lloyd Hannigan. And Azuma Nelson. I just used to love those guys. Lloyd Hannigan used to bring this showboating, like a Jamaican fighter where my dad's from, and he used to really like entertain. And Azuma Nelson, if anyone knows that guy, is an African legend. He had a work rate. He had an engine that purred. It was like a Lamborghini, like V8 engine. You know, like, this guy never got tired. You know what I mean? And so just excited. Like when you don't get tired in fights, you've automatically got a huge advantage over your next man, because you can just, and that's what I used to pride myself on. I used to say, right, be fit. When you turn up for a fight, minimum expectation is to be fit. You'll win fights just by outworking people.
Yeah.
You know, so so I've named about 8 of my favorites there.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, great. And so what you presumably you've been to quite a few live fights?
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, I go to all the big fights that I can. I've seen Froch and Kessler. I've seen Hay and Klitschko. I've been to Brook and Triple G. I've been to Miguel and Groves. I've seen B2B fight against Yard. I went to Joshua Dubois. I went to Joshua Usyk. I go to a lot of fights where I can.
Fantastic. What's the best fight you've seen?
Oh man, there's too many, you know. Best fight I've seen live.
I mean, that Dubois,
I tell you what,
AJ was pretty exciting a few months ago.
Yeah, the AJ Dubois was really good. Yeah, that was a really good fight. Triple G Brook was good.
Yeah,
that was a really good fight. That one.
Where was that?
I think it was at O2.
Okay.
Do you know what? Yard and B2B, which I went to recently. I know it won't go on people's radars much. Yard versus B2B. That's one of the best fights I've been to in a long time.
Where was that?
That was at OVO Arena. It's like Wembley Wembley OVO Arena, I think it was called.
Have you been to any Vegas fights?
Pardon?
Vegas? You've been into Vegas fights?
No, I haven't. I'm fingers crossed. I'm going to Fury Usyk and make my debut in Saudi next month. So you'll be seeing some cool interviews. Hopefully, I'm just fingers crossed. It's not all confirmed, but like that'd be really huge for me. And first time out in Saudi. I've never done any Vegas fights, no. And it's rare. There's not so many fights out there now, is there?
Yeah, right. I was at De La Hoya Mayweather MGM Grand. That was pretty decent.
Beautiful.
Been out a few times, yeah. And so yeah, middleweight, super middleweight, best division. What about if there was one rule that you could change in boxing? What would it be?
Oh, absolutely easy, that one for me. I hate robberies. It just really annoys me about our sport that we've got the only sport where you can't see the score. You know, when you can walk in your room now and you can turn on the TV and you can see the football and you see Arsenal winning 2-1, or you can see the Grand Prix, Verstappen's winning, or you can turn on the tennis, Djokovic is 2 sets up. But you turn on the boxing, you don't have a clue who's winning, and it really bugs me. And I want to see scoring open. So the first thing I would change is get scoring open. Keep it basic. 1-0, you win this round. 1-1, 2-1, 3-1. You know, maybe get an extra point for if you get the knockdown. You know, it needs to be open. So the participants don't even know who's winning in boxing. Yeah. And when I was boxing, I wanted to know. I would want to know. When I come back at the end of the round, I want to know that I've won.
Yeah.
So first thing I would change is the scoring, so they can't manipulate the fights.
That's brilliant. And also, I think that the critics of that say that you could be 6 rounds up after 6 and then coast. But I think the flip side of that is, but it makes for a dramatic fight because the guy who's 6 rounds down is now gonna press even more. So I think the critics, they've tried it before and it's not worked.
Well, listen, look, when I was boxing, you know who's winning in there. You know who's winning when you're in there with someone. And yeah, loads of times I've coasted in the last round, and you see guys, dancing around in the last round, putting their hand up because they know they've won. So it happens anyway.
Yeah.
What the only thing is you don't want to see people quitting. You don't want to see people going, "Oh, I'm 7 rounds down now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to quit." But I think quitting is such a noble sport, and to be labelled a quitter as a fighter, there's not much worse is to have your heart questioned. So I don't know if you really see people quit, because you just quit, you always lose, you quit. People won't pick you up again. You won't get fights again. You'll get labelled. I think there's too much risk for fighters just to quit, personally. So I think it works. There's open scoring in the Olympics. I went to the Paris Olympics to have open scoring. I just think it works well. And I just think, robberies need to stop. And it's really poor part of our fight. We've got the Saudis making the fights now. Before we weren't seeing the big fights. Now we are. Now we need to just end the robberies. And how we do that is by open scoring.
Well, I was about to say that with the Saudi thing, they're taking over. They bought the Ring magazine. They're doing all these fights. Perhaps they can introduce that as part of their thing. And I agree. There's a spectator enhancement. It'd be brilliant to know that, what's going on as it's happening. What's the fight you'd like to see? So I think, if you get out to that December card, Usyk Fury, that's as good a fight as can be made right now. But what was any other fights you'd really like to see in the next 12 months?
Oh, there's a few. I know I keep giving you multiple answers, but listen, if you ask a boxing purist like who's his favourite fighter or what's his best fight, you're like, it's always going to be endless.
Of course.
I mean, I'd love to see the Ben Eubank fight. I mean, I know people are saying it's like a circus and all the rest of it, but I think that's got to happen. I'd love to see like Crawford and Canelo or something like that. Love to see that happen.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. I think that would be a fight that I'd absolutely. Canelo and Crawford, that'd be great. I think those are the two that are like, no matter where I am, I'm going to be tuning in. But you can make so many with that sort of, even around the 140, 147 mark, with Lopez and Haney and Lomachenko and Garcia and Shakur Stevenson and Tank. You could chuck all of them, match them all up, and all of them I'd want to see.
Yeah, agree. And okay, so let's go for the worst take you've had. So when you've thought you've been completely convinced about an outcome of a matchup and got it totally wrong. Do you have any examples of that?
Yeah, Hey Klitschko, Hamburg.
Yeah.
I went to that fight. I drove across France. Amsterdam, drove to Hamburg, and the fight was the worst part of my weekend. Yeah, I genuinely was convinced that Hay was going to be the man to beat Klitschko at the time, and he didn't even show up, and then he blamed his toe. So
did he lose every round? I think it was a shutout, pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty much a shutout. But one thing for me is criminal is if you don't throw punches.
Yeah.
When you get to a fight and you don't throw punches, because for me, like what you're training the whole time. When you're training in boxing, you're throwing punches.
Yeah.
You're throwing punches on the bag, you're throwing punches on the pads. So I can never understand how you can get to a fight and then not throw punches. Yeah. To me, that's absolute criminal.
What it looked like to me in that fight was Hay. So Hay, I think Hay was a natural heavyweight, 6'3", 15 and a half stone. I mean, that's fine for heavyweight in my opinion. But he looked like he was fighting like he didn't belong in the heavyweight ring against.
Yeah, he was too small. I think he was too small for Klitschko. I think he felt a little bit of power earlier and then didn't want to get stuck in. I think I kind of disagree. I don't know if he was a great heavyweight because he came in an era when heavyweight started being big. Do you know what I mean? Like before, you had the era with Tyson, Holyfield, sort of smaller heavyweights, and then Lennox comes along, and suddenly you got like a 6'4+ brother. He's knocking people out, and then Klitschko's there with him, with Lennox.
Yeah,
and Klitschko takes over, and it's big guys now. And then AJ beats Klitschko.
Yeah,
and it's another 6'4+ guy. The 18 stone man start coming to the fore. Yeah. Tyson Fury. So Hay was in that mix, wasn't he? With Fury, Klitschko. They were just too big. Yeah. And the big heavyweights started coming back into town,
Yeah.
Zhang, Joyce.
Yeah.
You know, big guys now. They all started, you know, Dubois. These are big guys now. So I think he just missed that era.
Yeah.
You know, where he could get away with being a bit smaller. It's harder now for a smaller heavyweight, if you ask me. And what Usyk is doing is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because he's taking shots off of guys that are 3 stone heavier, 3-4 stone heavier than him.
Yeah.
And he's taking their soul. I was at the fight against Joshua, and he just took his soul.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, really well put. Yeah, and I think that's why the Usyk story is so enjoyable for me, to see someone who's not a giant. You know, he's still a big guy, 6'3", and you know, 100+ kilos, but he's to see him doing what he's doing at 6'3" in the land of the giants, I think is just I'm loving it. I have anyone above 6'5", I sort of think your athletic prowess, your attributes as a boxer can start to diminish rather than be an asset. I think, you know, what you said a minute ago, really good point about if you've got a gas tank, tick that. That's the first thing in the box, tick it. If you're 6'6" and above, you've got to have questions about your gas tank down the stretch.
But Fury's defied that, you know, when you see, you know, I always look at body type and condition of fighters. And when you see a flabby guy with an engine that's phenomenal like Fury, he's beating science. He's beating science, because a big guy like that shouldn't be able to, you know, be a 12-round fighter. But he does 12 rounds comfortably, you know.
It's extraordinary what he does, given what the size he is and what he looks like. I do think, though, what we've seen with Fury is, so he's 35, he's younger than Usyk, but I think the longevity in his physique is limited, and I think he hit a wall in May that exposed him that that frame he's got is not designed for fighting in your late 30s, and I think he's gonna. I think if he can turn it around in December, it would be almost a miracle.
Oh, harsh. The thing is that you got to remember. I think it was rounds about 2 to about 6 or 3 to about 6, where Fury was actually, the flow was with him.
Yeah,
the tide was with him. He was boxing quite smoothly, and it looked like it was going to be a long night for Usyk. Just for a little window in that fight. I think it was about round 3 to about 6, or maybe 2 to 6. Little window.
Yeah.
And I was thinking Usyk needs to change the flow of this, otherwise he's going to be in a bit of bother. And he did, with a big backhand shot, broke Fury's nose, or bludgeoned his nose, and he took over from there. I don't think rematches often go the same way that people think they're going to. People always think it's just going to pick up the same way it did at the last fight, and very rarely does it. So I think we're in for a little bit of a surprise.
You think Fury can do it?
No. No, I think Usyk wins, but I don't think it. Often it doesn't go. It won't go to the script.
Yeah. So so Usyk, absolutely. I was a huge Usyk fan. I had a big bet on him, and up until that 7th round, I was like, he's done. He's gone. Fury's got this. In the in-fight betting odds, you could back. I think he was like 20-1 against Usyk. Like, he had no chance after 7 rounds. Yeah. But I think that the effort it took Fury to dominate those rounds is kind of like a Pyrrhic victory. It's like, right, I've got my nose in front here. I'm 7 rounds in, and I'm done. I don't have that anymore. I don't think he can maintain what is required to keep such a busy fighter like Usyk off for more than 6 rounds. And if you can't do it for more than 6 rounds, you're going to struggle.
No, I think Usyk does a job better this time, but I'm just saying, let's just take the Fury versus Wilder fight. The first fight was close. Fury got knocked down a few times. Second fight, no one saw him just walking Wilder down and bludgeoning him. No, everyone thought if he's going to win this, he's going to have to back foot, he's going to sharp shoot, and he's going to win on points. No one saw him just like disrespecting Wilder's power and actually being the puncher in there. Yeah. So rematches have a habit of throwing up some crazy scripts. Yeah. And all I'm saying is just watch out for that, because a crazy script might happen.
I cannot wait for that one. If you get out there, that'd be amazing. Okay, so hey, Klitschko, what about, when have you felt, I mean, you've probably got millions of these, but when have you felt that is a hot take, No one saw that coming. I saw it coming. Yeah, well done. I saw that coming. What's your best hot take?
I've had a few of these, man. I've had a few of these where I'm like, mate, this guy is going to win. But the one that because when I see one like that, I bet on it. I'm not a massive betting man, but when I saw Lomachenko fighting Lopez, I put 100 quid on Lopez, and because I just knew he'd beat Lomachenko. I just knew he'd beat him, and at the time Lomachenko was hot, you know. And I just knew Lopez. I'd been following Lopez for years, and I was like, this guy is serious. I've been following him for. I think I spotted him on an ESPN undercard, like years ago. And I'd been following him. I was thinking, he's serious, this guy. This brother is technical. He can punch hard. He's going to cause Lomachenko an upset. And so I put 100 cheats on it. And I got paid. Nice.
Yeah. Lovely.
Knowledge is money.
Right. Okay. So that's brilliant. So you felt he was underrated. What about, who do you think is the most overrated in recent memory?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Most overrated fighter?
Yeah.
Most overrated fighter. I mean, Amir Khan might have to be in there. I've seen Khan fight as well, by the way. Blistering hand speed, blah, blah, blah. But really, actually, if you think about it, like, what's his best career win? Maidana? You know what I mean? Like a fighter that's meant to be of that caliber should have better victories, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
And he's actually got knocked out very badly multiple times.
Yeah.
I think he's probably been a little bit overrated. He was good, don't get me wrong, but he's probably actually underachieved a little bit. I mean, he has won a world title. People were saying, I'd say Khan was quite overrated. I think.
Okay, and so who do you think active fighters right now? Who's your number one pound for pound on the planet? Active.
Oh, Usyk.
You got Usyk at one.
Yeah. I mean, he's unbeaten, 2-weight world champion, undisputed champion, heavyweight. His CV now is, he's got Joshua on it twice, Fury on it. Before everyone was talking, it's Joshua versus Fury. He's the main fight, and he's beaten them both. Yeah. So I don't think you can argue with Usyk. I think he stands out pretty clear, personally.
I heard someone say Usyk. So I think everyone who likes boxing, without exception, likes Usyk. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody is controversial enough to say they don't rate Usyk. But I did hear someone say they made him a top 5 all-time heavyweight, which I really struggle with, putting Usyk in the top 5 all time. It's kind of, there's a lot of history in this sport.
There's a lot of history, but it's not a far-fetched shout though. If he beats Fury again, it's not a far-fetched shout, to be honest with you, because who are you putting ahead of him? Lennox,
absolutely. Ali, Lennox.
Ali. Who else?
Evander.
You can't put Evander ahead of him.
Really?
Yeah, you can't put Evander ahead of Usyk. I mean, like, did Evander never cleared out the division? Usyk has.
I mean, that's interesting. So I think we should have is Evander Holyfield overrated or underrated?
No, he's rated about right. He's rated about right, but he hasn't cleaned up at heavyweight, did he? He cruiserweight champ, and he come up, and he's been involved in some good fights. He beat Tyson, but he's not like, he lost to Lennox.
Couple of wins over, one win over Riddick Bowe. Was it out of the 3?
He lost Tyson to Lennox. Yeah, lost to Lennox. Drew with Lennox when he should have lost.
Yeah. Okay.
So Usyk's like unblemished.
Yeah. Okay. So Usyk. Yeah. So who is the number 1 at heavyweight all time?
Oh, I think you got to go. I think Lennox. Or Ali, and then Lennox probably.
Same. I got
Ali or Lennox. It's got to be one of those two. Because the thing is, Ali, he's picked up some losses, and again, he boxed on a bit too long. So his record just got tarnished a little bit at the end there. Because he boxed on a bit too long. When he boxed, I interviewed Tim Witherspoon, and at the end, he had signs of Parkinson's whilst he was boxing.
Yeah.
at the end, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
Awful. But so do you think the legacy can be tarnished? But so Roy Jones is a classic. Is his legacy tarnished for those late defeats? I'm okay with sort of boxing off their prime and saying this was the elite fighter.
Yeah.
The second half, the final 10% of their career, forget about that.
Yeah.
Judge them on,
Yeah, but if you go off your prime, Tyson has to be in there. Mike Tyson, like in his prime, like 21 to 24, I don't think anyone beats him. I think he would beat. I think he beats Lennox.
Wow.
I think he would smash Lennox.
Wow. Okay. I think Evander beats any version of Mike Tyson. I mean, I'm obviously a big Evander Holyfield fan.
Any version.
Hmm?
Oh.
Yeah.
We can argue about this for days.
Yeah. We'll do a separate episode of that. So where have you got? So Mike Tyson, without the window of the prime, just overall his entire career, where does he sit? Is he a top 5, a top 10?
Mate, it's questionable because he's lost his biggest fights. If you actually look at Tyson, he lost to Lennox, he lost to Evander. He's like his biggest fights and his biggest, moments, he actually fell short.
Yeah.
And then when you start looking at his best win again, and it's like Frank Bruno and Spinks and people like that. Yeah. Oh, there's an argument to not put him in it. There's an argument. Well, I have to put him in it because he's one of my favorites. I'm biased. Yeah. But I put him in my top 5 because I think in his prime he was I thought he was almost unbeatable in that little window before he went to jail.
Mike Tyson is the reason. Rocky Balboa and Mike Tyson, they are the 2 reasons I love this sport, 30, 40 years later. But I think what Mike Tyson has is he has the best highlight reel in the history of boxing, possibly the history of sport. You can pull up a 45-minute YouTube video and watch his highlights, and you don't worry about the caliber of the opponent. You just watch the highlight reel, and it's great fun.
Yeah, listen, I'm never a massive fan of comparing eras because it's so subjective. Yeah. Who would beat who? Yeah. I'm never a massive fan of getting involved in like all-time great pound for pound lists and stuff like that. It just does my head in thinking about it a lot of the time. Yeah. Because you say something, you go, oh, actually, but he has to be in and he has to be in. It's really difficult to do and it's really subjective and they're all like unbelievable fighters. So it's hard for us sitting at home, with our central heating on full blast, saying that this guy shouldn't be on the list.
Yeah. I've got a really strong opinion about Jack Johnson. Well, have you really? Okay, so I know you've met a huge number of fighters. Is there any that is kind of been like your favorite meeting a hero? And is there anyone else you haven't met that you'd like to meet in the game?
Oh yeah, I'd love to meet Mike Tyson. Okay. I haven't met him. Mm-hmm. I think when I met Bernard Hopkins, when I interviewed Bernard Hopkins, I just found myself like smiling and and just looking at him, going, "Am I really chatting with this guy?" It was just incredible, when I met P-Hop.
When did you meet him?
I did an Insta Live, like here now, like how we're doing now. I did a live interview, like how we're doing now. But it was just surreal. Like I did it off my phone, so there I was on my phone, and I'm looking at my phone, and Bernard Hopkins is talking to me on it. You know what I mean? And we're talking about his life in prison and stuff. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is brilliant, And even when I see him on TV now, it's like different. I'm like, I had a chat with him on my phone. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's really weird. So I didn't meet him in person. But yeah, in person, I've met Bivol and Ben Whitaker and Roy Jones Jr.
Oh, wow.
And, loads of upcoming O'Hara Davis, Adam Azim, loads of upcoming Chris Eubank Jr. So I've met loads in person. Mm-hmm. But I'd say when I spoke with Bernard, I was just like, wow, it was unbelievable. It's surreal. Yeah,
I can imagine that. I mean, it's intimidating or kind of easy?
I don't really get intimidated around them. I kind of just like, listen, I need to get to talk to these guys. So I just go up to them and say, look, Gunman Boxing, I'm a big fan. Can I grab like 2 minutes of your time? Yeah. And I just whack a microphone in their face and off I go. Yeah. You can sit around going, oh, shall I ask him or shall I not ask him? I just get stuck in there.
I met Mike Tyson like 20 years ago when he was here for the Julius Francis fight.
Yeah.
And I said to him, "You're going to beat Francis in 3 rounds." And he's like, "No, man, 1 round." And I was like, "Can I have a photo?" And he said, it was pretty quiet. We were in London, but it was before like cell phones and stuff. So he was like, no, man, I don't want to cause a scene. And I was like, fair enough. And then he goes, "Come on, let's do it." And it was a camera before a phone. And he goes, "So I'm trying to take a selfie with an old-fashioned phone. And I've got my arm around Mike Tyson. I can barely reach around his shoulder. But he's about my height. You know, he's not a huge guy."
Yeah.
And I'm taking photos blindly with this camera. And he just says, "Give it to Lloyd." And Lloyd Hannigan was there. So I recognize Lloyd Hannigan, give him the camera. And Lloyd Hannigan takes the photo of me and Mike Tyson.
Brilliant.
And it was crazy. Like Tyson, it was January in London. And he was complaining about how cold it was. And I was like, God, this is so strange. Like Mike Tyson worrying about the cold. You know what I mean? It was like kind of like putting these people that we think are mythical creatures.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, you did get you did get starstruck when you meet like, guys that you enjoy watching. Especially guys those are the guys that those are those elite fighters where no matter when they're fighting, you're there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's 4 a.m, you're getting up to watch them fight. There's not that many of those fighters around anymore. Where it's like 4 a.m. and you're up, waking up, to watch it. And Tyson was that guy. Well, no matter where you were, you could be anywhere. You'd get to the box to make sure you saw his fight.
Oh yeah, 100%. So who? We've done the best boxing. What's the most? Have we done this one? The most predictable result we've ever seen, where you thought, people they often throw around 50-50 fight when it's often not. Whereas a fight you've seen where they thought it would be a close one, but no, not 50-50.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I was really disappointed to see that Chisora fighting Fury for that that last fight. I was just like, why?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think everyone was like, I was just like, why? Why is that being made? Like, it's not even a fight, is it? Yeah. That's one where that's just so predictable. That was, I didn't even know why they made that, to be honest with you.
Well, Fury will say that he wanted to give his mate a paycheck, but it's very strange to me. Again, that was sort of indicative of Tyson Fury's mindset. Why is he taking that fight at this stage of his career? Where So, what about the best upset or most surprising result or come from behind knockout? Anything where you've like the most moment where you jumped out of your sofa or you're at ringside and you've seen something that out of the blue.
Come back.
Yeah.
Oh, that Diego Corrales fight.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. It was Castillo, wasn't it? Castillo Corrales.
Mouthpiece out.
Oh, if you've never seen that, I think it was round 11?
10 or 11, yeah.
It looked like I've never seen anything like that where one guy is. Like, I mean, it was a comeback in the round, wasn't it? It wasn't like, oh, he's getting beaten the whole fight. It was like, in that round, he gets, it's just phenomenal. If anyone hasn't seen that round, just Google that, Castillo Corrales, and it'll be the first thing that will come up. I think that was incredible. That was
I think I watched that at least once a year ever since it's happened.
Incredible. I mean, that was incredible.
Chris Eubanks' comeback against Watson was pretty impressive as well in terms of like a one-punch turnaround seconds after being down.
I'm going to definitely stick with Castillo Corrales. That was just, mate, I don't think you'll see that around like that ever again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think you'll see around like, of course you probably will, but like, it's out of this world.
What is the worst piece of sportsmanship you've seen in this sport? Or a controversy where you've just thought, nah, that's not good?
I'll tell you what, I didn't like when Hay fought Bellew and then he put his glove out to tap gloves. And then when Bellew went to tap gloves with him, he just swung a hook. And Bellew ducked out of the way and Hay spun round. Completely missed him.
Yeah, right.
I think that's just really cheap and dirty, that is. It was, I don't know if you remember that moment, but like...
I do know you mentioned it.
maybe a lot of people may not remember that, but
Yeah.
if you offer someone your glove to someone
Yeah.
and then try and trick them to knock them out, I can't think of anything worse sporting wise. But then you see a lot of it going on with people headbutting and using elbows and all that kind of stuff. But I actually think when you actually tactically put your glove out to someone and then you attack them, that's like, you can't get much more deceptive than that. And I don't like to see that.
It's very interesting. I remember that now you mention it, but I had forgotten about it because of all the other drama around those fights with the injury and the bust leg and all that stuff. But I remember it now. And so you've obviously got experience of, you can spot value in the betting markets. We know that. You've boxed yourself. You coach now as well. So is there anything that you can think that is a standout thing that you will do differently when assessing a fight and matchup?
Anything I would do differently in terms of assessing a fight as in a matchup?
Yeah. So you talked about the gas tank being a huge thing, but is there anything else where you like maybe age is a factor, or this, the southpaw versus orthodox, or anything that's really important to you when assessing how a fight's going to unfold?
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, age, I think, is always key. You always look at age. Like you look at a lot of people when they're looking at the Tyson Paul fight, the people that are thinking that was going to be close. I mean, straight away I knew that's not going to be close. It's a granddad fighting a younger guy. It's actually a mismatch. Yeah. Age is always key for sure. I always look at body types at the weigh-in. So when I was fighting, I always looked at my opponent on the scales. And when I see fights now, I look on the scales and see how do these guys look? And I think you can have a bit of a take into it. You can have a bit of a take even in psychologically when you see the behind the gloves or the stare-offs, when people are looking away or, I think you can read quite a bit into it. But age definitely is a one for sure.
Yeah, interesting. And I agree. And coming from your experience as a fighter on the scales, looking at your opponent, like I've never been in that situation, but the fight weeks now, because we get so much exposure in that build up to the fight, I love that in terms of like, how's he looking? What's he saying? What do they look like on the scales? I think those things are fascinating. They just create this excitement and drama that, okay. So we've got so many over the years, but what is your favorite standout boxing quote from
I always like everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face.
That's probably number one.
I love that. I probably get that all the time, but that's the one. And everyone still quotes it. Everyone's still quoting it all the time, aren't they?
Yeah. You hear it across all sports as well.
Yeah.
and obviously tell the viewers who that was in case they don't know.
It was Iron Mike.
Yeah. Okay. What about best boxing film, best boxing book, or any podcasts that stand out that you'd recommend?
Podcasts, make sure you follow Gunman Boxing. But the thing is, I get labelled a podcaster, but really, I do live interviews with fighters, mainly on Instagram and YouTube Live. But I often watch quite a lot of my own content. I like to watch my own interviews back to see how they went. So make sure you watch Gunman Boxing. And then books, the Tyson book is brilliant. I love that, about his early days and life in the hood. I would definitely recommend Mike Tyson's book.
Oh, his own one?
Yeah, his own book,
Crazy.
I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
And then what was the other?
Any boxing movies?
Oh, boxing, mate, I just love Rocky 3 with Clubber Lang.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the one with Drago as well, actually.
Rocky 4 is Rocky 4.
Yeah. Actually, I might go that one.
40% music montage, that film, apparently.
Yeah.
Training videos.
Yeah.
Okay, now what about final two questions here? And I think these are going to be good. What is the best ring entrance you've ever seen, or the best goosebump moment? When the referee's giving final instructions and you get the heart palpitations and the goosebumps. What's your number one that you can think of?
Oh, blooming hell, that last one's tough. Okay, ring walk. It's got to be one of Prince Nazim's. I quite liked his Halloween one.
Oh, yeah.
His Halloween one when he came in, he just jabbed the skull off the stick.
Yeah.
Comes in flying carpets was good.
Yeah.
But I've also seen someone come in a straitjacket. I can't remember the fighter. That was one of
Wow.
my favourites.
Wow.
One fighter came in a straitjacket, literally with his arms like that and a mask
Wow.
on,
Was
and
it Hopkins?
he was wheeled in.
Wow.
That was absolute genius.
Hannibal Lecter style.
Yeah, I love that. That's probably my favourite.
Oh, wow.
Goosebump moment. Now this is really hard for me because before any big fight, I have that.
Yeah.
Like literally before any big fight, I have that.
Yeah.
I swear, I'm not even playing here. Like when there's a big fight on, the entrances are done and it's all ready. I'm nervous. My palms are sweaty. I can't wait for it. Yes, here we are now. Here we are. I'm in. I have it almost for every fight.
Yeah.
So I can't really answer that one. I think every big fight, I like that.
I
have that goosebump moment. That's why I love it. I love the sport. And
that is what you described there is literally the drug that attracts us to this sport. And
I have it almost before every sort of major fight.
Yeah.
You know, even when it's like a UFC or Conor McGregor and Khabib, you know, like the super fights.
Yeah.
Any of the super fights, you know, I'm like, oh, it's Tank versus Garcia. It's just starting.
Yeah.
I have it every single fight. So yeah, I'll just name any sort of super fight.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
We're going to get it in a couple of weeks with Usyk and Fury. Those few seconds, the entrances are done. They're taking the gowns off, and there's nowhere to go now. You've got 30 seconds before they're throwing hands, and there's nothing like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you've probably got this from your fighting experience, but what was your own entrance music? What would you have as a tune?
So I started off just changing tunes every fight. So I used to just change it. But then my last 3 or 4 fights, I went for Conroy Smith, Dangerous, it's called.
Oh, okay.
And, it's a reggae tune. And it's just like, it just gets me in the mood. It's like, we are dangerous. I'm dangerous. And it used to get me in the mood. You have to check that tune out. Conroy Smith, Dangerous. I'm not going to sing it because I can't sing.
Right. I'm going to look it up. Nice. Brilliant. Okay. All right, Wes. Look, that is 45 minutes and it's flown by. So just give us your Insta again so everyone can find you.
Yeah, so it's at Gunman Boxing, or if you put Gunman into Insta, I'm the first that comes up. Gunman Boxing on YouTube. So just follow, subscribe. I interview fighters of all levels. The idea of the channel is to give fighters voice and recognition of all levels. So I'll interview a 12-year-old having his first skill bout, right up to Roy Jones Jr., John Ryder, Bernard Hopkins, Bivol, Ben Whittaker, right up to all those sort of guys, Frank Warren, Kalis Sauerland. So yeah, if you follow it, you like boxing and you just want your feed to be a bit sexier, then you basically come and follow me, and I basically cover sort of the main events and all sort of grassroots boxing. So, and it's fun, it's lighthearted, it's fun. We have a bit of a joke with the fighters and stuff, and I recommend the channel. It's doing really well, and hopefully in the next few years, it's really going to push on to new levels.
I couldn't agree more, and I honestly think it's the most refreshing. The way you do it, you have a unique style. It's knowledgeable. It's kind of cheeky. It's respectful. It's everything you want in boxing content. And I said previously, often we scroll, and you skip things out, and you see Mark Wahlberg in a whatever. But whenever I see you, I stop and I watch every single thing you put out there, and you
sir.
You make me laugh, or you inform me, or you inspire me, or this. Yeah, so an absolute must follow.
Oh, thank you, sir. Bless up, man. I appreciate you.
100%. All right, Wes. Well, unless you've got anything else, we'll wrap it up.
No, that's all good. Listen, all I can say is thanks for everyone tuning in and listening. I love what you're doing as well. It's great, that we can support each other. At the end of the day, we're giving fight fans insight into the fight game. So bless up. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you. Hopefully, the Boxing Bug gets the bug and gets people watching you as well. So it's really good. So yeah, I'll definitely be tuning into more of your content too. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, Wes. Take care, man. See you soon.
Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.